today's topic's going to be a good one. What happens when your superpower becomes your biggest weakness? This is one of the biggest things that I see entrepreneurs struggle with, both with themselves and with their teams. And I'll be honest with you, I've struggled with it for a long time. So I'll give you an example in the dental industry. One thing that is a superpower for dentists is that they're perfectionists. When they go to do dentistry, that serves them very well because dentistry is a game of millimeters. You don't have room for mistakes. Things have to be borderline perfect for you to be a successful dentist. And that's where their brains are at. However, that becomes a massive weakness when you get into entrepreneurship. And so one of the things, the shifts that dentists have to make is they have to go from having a mindset of perfection in their craft over to the 80% rule when it comes to their business. You say, what's the 80% rule? If someone else can do it 80% as good as you in the business world, you're doing great. Just get to 80% and you're doing amazing. No one has to be as good as you at that thing. Now, I know what the dentists are thinking. Well, no. In dentistry, that's not true. I'm not talking about the craft of dentistry. I'm talking about HR, I'm talking about payroll, I'm talking about marketing, I'm talking about all the ancillary things around dental work that 80% will get it done. 80% will definitely get it done. And some people can even do it better than that and better than you, and that's okay. And that's actually going to help you do even more amazing dentistry. So that's an example of a superpower that can quickly become a weakness. I'll give you another one, independence. I know you have people on your team that are totally independent. They don't need you. They just get the job done, and they become amazing. They become amazing team members. You love them. You rely on them. You think about them like, man, if I'll just go put them on it and just let them run with this project, and they'll knock it out of the park. And these individual contributors are amazing. They're amazing individual contributors. However, they usually create culture issues because they don't work well with others, right? And so a good example of this is in basketball. When you have, in the NBA, you have this superstar who's amazing, but they're very selfish and they never win. They never win. They never get to the place where they're just doing amazing as a team, but the individual is always doing really well. So you're not going to win overall, but you're going to get some little projects done or smaller projects that help overall. And there's a place for that. But you got to have balance. Again, just like the perfectionism, you got to be able to balance that out. Here's another one that I see happen all the time. Empathy. I know a lot of dentists that are super empathetic to their teams and they love their teams. They go, Susie at the front desk, she's been with me for 37 years. And I love Susie. She's like a sister to me. She's like a mother to me. And she's been in my office before I even bought the practice. And she helped me and she did all these great things for me. And you're super empathetic towards them and you want to help them, and that's commendable. However, when you try to grow and Susie refused to be trained on new ways of answering the phone and stop screening out new patients, she refuses. And you remain empathetic to her and you don't grow because of that. And so this is somewhere where your empathy that is a superpower for sure and is an awesome thing that you should have as a human being becomes a weakness in your business, and you have to learn to pivot. Here's another one, competitiveness. I am so competitive. I am uber hyper competitive, but I've had to learn something. There's a book called The Infinite Game. In business, we're not playing a sport, okay? So when I go and play a sport or a board game, I play Monopoly with my kids, I'm trying to destroy them. Absolutely just wreck them. I'm not one of those people that let my kids win at anything. I don't want to give them false hope, right? And so I'm super competitive, but in business, you can't really be competitive like that. You say, why not? Well, it's like, I want to be the best dentist in the world. Well, what does that mean? And who are you competing against? And do they know that you're competing against them? And are they playing by the same set of rules as you are? It's not a controlled environment. The name of the game in business is to survive and advance. And who you're competing against is actually yourself. So the guy down the street, if he wins on his definition of dentistry and you win on your definition of dentistry, you can both win at the game. That's not like Monopoly. That's not like a basketball game where there's only one winning team or one winning person. In business, your competitiveness can begin to work against you because you build up these make-believe narratives and no one else knows that you're competing in that. And so competitiveness is very good if it's put in the right place against yourself, against your old version of your old self or the old version of your company. And we want to get better, but not against other people out there because they're not playing by the same set of rules that you are, and they don't even know that they're playing with you. So that's another great example of something that can be a superpower, but then become a big weakness. Visionary thinking is another one. Visionary thinking, if someone has huge goals, huge aspirations, you need that when you start a business. But when you get to the place where your visionary thinking begins to slow down the business because you've grown to a certain point that you can't keep doing new things, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. It becomes a big weakness. I'll give you another one. Optimism. Optimism is one. When you get started in business, you have to be uber optimistic. Uber optimistic. And you have to have that to start a business and get it off the ground. However, that superpower of optimism can become one of your biggest weaknesses if you begin to be optimistic in ways of things that are hurting you that you just shouldn't believe in anymore. Loyalty is another one. Technical skills is another one. I could go on and on and on about this. So I would love to know from you, what is a superpower that you've started to realize at times, if you're not careful, it can become a weakness? I'm going to give you one more. Being super paranoid or worried all the time. So one thing that I've noticed about people who are very successful is they're constantly thinking and they're constantly worrying about things. And they're like, okay, I got to figure this out. I got to think. And they're like 12 steps ahead of everybody else. And at first you're like, wow, that person's really on top of things. Like they don't let anything slip through the crack. However, if that's not managed correctly and they don't use systems and reminders and things like that, negativity constantly can become a huge weakness, and it can kill you, like physically hurt you. And you say, how do you know this? That's me. I'm one of those people. I can see it from a mile away. So these are the things that we have to pay attention to as business leaders, as leaders of our team, leaders to our families, leaders just out in the community as we go about our day. What are things that are superpowers that can become weaknesses? Drop them down in the comment below. Eve, thanks for the melty face emoji, and you guys have a great day.